and welcome to the strategic analysis of the operational case study November 2017 exam, where the company is Struans of Newland. So we'll start with a brief introduction to the case. So Struans, the company, family business, been around for over 100 years. They are now an ice cream manufacturer. Previously were milk dairy farmers and then milk manufacturers and retailers. They are now ice cream manufacturers. So this is going to be an interesting case study to get involved in. It's often interesting to delve into industries, the product of which one is very familiar. I'm sure many of you are familiar with ice cream, and so that can help with our strategic analysis, because it's an industry with some of us are fairly familiar with, and some new things might come from it. It's a fairly small, not tiny, reasonable sized, but very competitive industry with lots of competition, lots of key players, lots of different stuff going on. So there's plenty for us to think about. The case study, as we said, is Struans of Newland, family business, long-standing ice cream producer based in Newland. Okay, so what are we doing in our strategic analysis? What's the point of this video? What should you be hoping to get out of it? So in this analysis, we're using the rational planning model which hopefully some of you or all of you will be familiar with, the rational planning model of strategic analysis. And it's summarized here in this diagram. And the basic idea for this is, if we start here on the left-hand side, we have this circle here. And we've got some information around it. But the key thing to understanding this is that it says now. So the whole idea is to get an understanding of where the business currently is, what it is like in its current form in the modern day. And to do that, to get an idea of what the business is like, we're going to analyse the business environment, perhaps using pestle analysis. We can do a market analysis. We can look at the brand, the value of the brand. We can look at the 4 P's of marketing. And all of that's going to help us to come up with a nice, detailed, informed SWOT analysis. Also value chain there, I forgot to mention. So that all of that goes into our putting together a SWOT analysis, which tells us where the company is. Okay. On the other side, on the right hand side over here, we have the future. And as you might guess, the idea of this is to see where the company wants to be in the future and what its goals are for the long term. So to do that, we have to look at its governance and its ethics and its kind of principles regarding that. We need to have a good understanding of the involved stakeholders and their relative importance to the company. We need to identify critical success factors, and all of that are going to help us to identify the mission and objectives of the company, so they can have a goal for what to aim for. So they have a target for the future. And then once you've got that, once you know where the company is now, once you know where they want to be in the future, what you can do is develop a business strategy that helps the company get from now to the future. And that's what we're going to try and do in this video. So let's consider this in some more depth. So the first stage, we're actually going to do it in reverse order than how it appears on the screen. The first stage of analysis is to ensure we fully understand where the organization is heading, along with its approach to meeting its stakeholder needs. So that's the future, that's looking towards the future, and we're thinking about the mission and objectives of the company. And that's going to involve us thinking about issues around governance and ethics. We're going to need to think about critical success factors, what are the things about the company that will make them successful in the future. And of course, we're going to have to think about stakeholder needs, because we're not going to be able to have any plan for the company without considering what the stakeholders want. That is where we're going to start. We're going to start by looking at the future. So let's get started with that. I'm going to start by thinking about the mission. What is the organization all about? Why does it exist? And for whom does it exist? What is it trying to achieve? An organization's mission answers these questions. And what we're going to use is Campbell's model to identify key elements of good mission statements, and we're going to try and write down some ideas beside these. So we'll start with purpose. Why does the organization exist, and for whom does it exist? Okay, so points to consider there. Why does the organisation exist? Well, one of the most important things is we know that it is a family business started over 100 years ago, and they started off with dairy farming and now they've moved into ice cream. So obviously, in a sense, it exists as a kind of family business, so it's been passed on through the generations and there's a certain level of tradition associated with that. So that's perhaps one element of the purpose of why it exists. And in addition to that, you've got the typical purpose of, it wants to exist in order to make enough money to keep the family to make enough money for the family to survive. But elements of that may be to create a family name and a reputation and a legacy, all those kind of things that you get with a family business. Okay, so we can then ask, what does the organisation hope to achieve long term? Well, we're only really guessing at this stage. We don't know for sure, but we could say that perhaps they want to be the leading provider of premium ice cream, which is something they actually already are, but perhaps they want to increase their market share and want to be the leading ice cream retailer in Newland or something like that. And perhaps if they're particularly ambitious, we might say their goal is to become not only the leading premium ice cream brand in Newland, but perhaps globally they may want to expand internationally and become a recognised brand across the world. So there we get a bit of an insight to their purpose. So let's think about strategy then. How will the organisation compete and what are the range of businesses it is operating within? So primarily they're competing over quality. They've kind of cornered a place of the market out for themselves in which they're sort of the top quality recognisable brand. And they're able to do that by having a lot of control over the production, the fact that they have their own farm and they have that ability there to control the quality of their ingredients. And at the moment, the only business it's operating within is the ice cream business, and they may be happy with that for now, but for the sake of diversification and reducing risk, they probably could consider expanding into other areas of business too. The key question there is going to be whether or not to expand in those other areas first before trying to perhaps expand globally, or whether to just focus purely on ice cream and become the best sort of ice cream or one of the top ice cream brands in the world. So then moving on to values, then we ask the question what the organisation stands for, and for us, for Struans, we know that quality is the main thing. They're concerned with the quality of their ice cream. They're also quite proud of the innovation of their products and having all these new different kinds of ice creams and flavours and being at the cutting edge of new ice cream designs. They're also quite proud of the fact that they're a green company investing heavily in renewable energy, and so that's going to be a part of their core value also. Okay, and then we have policies. So policies are the things that people are expected to follow, which ensure people act according to the value, strategy and purpose that we've already been looking at. So what policies could they enforce to make sure that all of these are met? Okay, so some of the policies they could enforce to make sure that they're meeting these is to make sure they're only employing the highest quality staff and they're keeping those staff motivated. They're going to want to make sure they're getting the highest quality products, and that's going to require sourcing them and purchase them and perhaps making sure they're paying the right amount for them. And they always need to be trying new flavours and staying innovative in order to keep this reputation as an innovative, forward-looking company. Okay, so moving on then, we're going to think about objectives and performance measurement. So objectives provide a focused target to move towards direct planning, motivate staff and enable accurate performance measurement. So from the case study, from looking at the pre-scene, we can infer a few specific targets. So one is that they want to be entirely renewable by 2025. And perhaps another one we might infer is that they will develop some kind of new product, perhaps single servings, perhaps healthy ice creams. This was included in their SWOT analysis, so it's certainly something that they seem to be aware of and will quite likely have targets around, and they would probably have more specific targets than just to develop single servings. And like I said, they're likely to have more specific targets we're not told about. But if the unseen suggests they do not, then obviously this is a weakness. So if you get into the exam and there are no specific targets, say you get a question on performance or objectives or targets, and there are no specific ones, and all you have to go on is the pre-seen, then a weakness in the company is that they have no specific targets. And it's a problem with their planning approach in the company. And in that situation, you could recommend a balanced scorecard. This would work well too. And there is little evidence of robust non-financial performance measurement in this case. And so this is certainly an area of weakness and would be something that you could refer to as a way to improve things as they are in the company. Okay, other aspects of focusing on the future were critical success factors. Now, these are the key things in an organization that they have to do well if it is to succeed. So you're gonna identify a few things that specifically this company must do well in order to do well. And it's important for the company to be aware of their critical success factors and to develop them to make sure that it's a strength within the business. If a new strategy is recommended in the exam, if someone is saying we should go into this new investment or a new project or something like that, and they don't relate to the existing critical success factors, then we can question whether it's appropriate, because if it's not supporting critical success factors, then it's a kind of questionable deviation from the norm. However, if they do comply with critical success factors, then that's a good reason to support the strategy. So here are a few of the critical success factors that you can apply to this case, and you could perhaps have a look yourself and see if you can find some of your own. But these are the main ones that we found. So at the moment, they're nationally recognized for high quality products. So there's sort of two things there. They've got this national recognition, and they also make high quality products, and those are going to be critical for this company. They need to make sure they are continuing to make high quality products so that the public, so people can, continue to get the quality that they expect for this company, and that's going to feed back and continue to help them with their national recognition. They have a long-standing brand and reputation. They've a company that have been around for over 100 years. They've been in a few different things. They started off with farming and then milk, and now they make ice cream. Maintaining that is going to be really important because they're kind of their family business. They've been around for a long time, and that image is feeding into their national recognition, the recognition of their brand and their reputation. So it's going to be important for them to recognize this and make sure that it is maintained. And what we were talking about earlier, if someone suggests a strategy that is in contrast to this, so for example, releasing a line of products that are lower quality and cheaper, that's going to be in contrast to their high quality products, and it could have damaged their reputation. So these kind of things in contrast with critical success factors mean that maybe it's not a good idea. Another one is that they're open to innovation and new products. And again, if that's part of the way that the public see them, then this is going to be important for the company going forward, making sure they're on the cutting edge of new products, that they don't become complacent and just stick with the same few things, always trying new things and offering new things to the market. All that remains for me to say is thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And I'll just take a few moments of your time, if I could, to just tell you about some of the other case study materials that we offer. So one of the things is a study text. Now this is a study text specifically aimed at the case study, and we have one for each level. So we have an operational, management and strategic level one, and they're designed to help you pass the study. They're in two halves. The first half is exam tips and this exam strategy and advice on how to answer questions and all the really useful kind of tips that you need going into these exams and how to prepare for them. And then the second half, the second part of those, is a recap of the key theory that always comes up in the case studies again and again. So those are really useful, really valuable thing that you can get. Those are available online, and you can get an actual textbook, a printed physical textbook for the old-fashioned among you who like to do it that way still. We also have course videos that correspond with that study text as well. So we have a series of really nicely well-produced, well-done videos in which we basically take you through exactly what's involved in the case study and how you can spend your time preparing for it to ensure that you get really good marks. It's really, really great series of videos there. We've got the pre-scene analysis, which the video you just watched is an example of the pre-scene analysis, and there'll be several more videos just like that where we look at every tiny detail of the pre-scene and we relate it back to the P1 or F1 or E1, and we relate it to real life scenarios, relate it to actual business and analysis tools, and we give you the what we expect to be the top 10 issues. Another thing that we do slightly different is the industry analysis, and that is this is a really great document in which we basically cover everything that's relevant to the industry for the particular business that we're looking at. And it goes from their history through to the customers and suppliers and the market and how the market has functioned and the history of that. And we've got statistics in there and diagrams, and it's full of information. It's so useful. And at the end of that pack, we also have 25 actual industry examples. So real life things that have happened in that industry, that kind of examples of things that might actually happen to the company in the exam. So it gives you a sense of the kind of things that are going on in the industry and how real life businesses in that industry have coped with it. We have mock exams, which are, if you were going to pick any one of these to do, I would suggest it was the mock exams, because nothing prepares you for the exam more than actually sitting a mock exam. And if I were a student taking this, I would certainly put mock exams at the top of my list, along with marking and feedback. Now, our mock exams are actually designed to match the way that the actual CIMA exams are, so you can sit them on your laptop and they'll be timed and automatic, and they are as close as you are going to get to the real thing. And you can get marking and feedback on that as well, which is probably the most valuable thing you could probably get. To get specific feedback from a marker who deals with this exam 4 times a year, that's the best way for you to improve your ability to pass this exam as quickly as possible. We also have a masterclass. So as an online company, we hold an online masterclass which you can sign up for, and it's a day over the weekend. We do the Saturday and a Sunday, and it's a full day's worth of we have an expert who takes an online seminar, and we go through everything specific to that case study that you can do to get prepared for the exam, and we cover all sorts. And it's very, very popular among students who like a one-on-one kind of classroom environment in an online situation. We also offer pass guarantee. So if you're unlucky enough to not pass your exam the first time round, then there's no worries, because we give you the option. If you choose a pass guarantee option, then as long as you hit all the minimum requirements that we ask and you don't pass, then you get access to our materials for the next sitting completely free of charge. So there's something that we're doing to try and get you. Hopefully, if you signed up to our course and you do everything that we say you should do, then you probably will pass first time. That tends to be the way it goes. But if you should be unfortunate, if it's a particularly tough exam, then we'll let you have another go for free. So that's it. Thanks again for watching. Remember, my name is James. You can find me on Facebook, James Nutting Astranti, where I'll be posting all sorts of information about the upcoming exam make sure you check that out because there's always something to talk about with regards to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.